Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? Welcome back. Let's get back into markets because I haven't touched on it in a couple of days. There's a couple of things that we should all be aware of. I know a lot of people were panicking. What's going on with cryptos? What's going on with gold? What's going on with silver? Those who have been listening to my videos for a little while, I warned you about these things coming up and not to fall for them and just hang tight. Before we get into those things, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel and I surely do appreciate it. Right now is the time to buy the shine. That's right. Precious metals. Protect yourself against inflation, market crashes, as well as keep yourself free. Keep yourself out of the system. Yes. Stay away from the central bank digital currency. You don't want none of that. So when you go to buy your precious metals, go check out our friends over there at Money Metals Exchange. The link is down below in the description. If you are a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and you will get a free half ounce of silver. So happy Star Wars Day for all those who know. May the 4th be with you. And what are we starting off with today? Well, we know the Fed raised interest rates by a half point. It's the largest move since 2000. The Federal Reserve today raised short-term interest rates by 0.5% as part of its effort to tamp down the inflationary pressures weighing on Americans. The central bank suggested that it will further raise borrowing costs throughout the year as it attempts to undo its pandemic-era easy money policies. Well, here's the thing. I like how they say the pandemic-era easy money policies. Well, we've been doing quantitative easing since, 2009? And there was no pandemic back then. Yeah, there's always an excuse for all this criminality our governments do. If it wasn't the too big to fail banks, then it was the RONA. And if it wasn't the RONA, then it's Putin. You know what I mean? But these markets were already set up to fail decades ago. Goes on to say the central bank suggested that it would further raise borrowing costs throughout the year. The decision to raise the rates by half point marked the most aggressive increase since meeting in May of 2000. Over the last 2 decades, the Fed has opted to raise its interest rate by only increments of 0.25%. It's only going to raise it up high and quick just so it could turn it around and lower them again once this move starts to backfire. And you're going to see them do this over and over. Raise, drop, to try to maintain what they believe would be a least stable economy. I don't think so. So what does a Fed's interest rate hike mean? Well, to cryptos? Well, let's take a look. Bitcoin is up 5.12%. Ethereum's up 5.48%. So yeah, they seem to be having some type of positive effect, obviously, on cryptos. Bitcoin's sitting at $39,745. Ethereum's at $2,935. New World Order coin XRP's at 64 cents. Solana at $92. Cardano's at 88 cents. Dogecoin's at 13 cents. Avalanche at $66.63. Polkadot sitting there at $16.21. Shiba's at 4022. Polygon's at $1.16. And Crypto.com is at 31 cents. It seems like the only ones in red are the stable coins. So crypto's in the green for now. Heck, even Satama is getting in on this action. 8063, up 5.8%. But over the last hour, it's been down, a negative 0.3%, not a lot. But over the past 24 hours, it has been a positive 5.8%. And over the last 7 days, finally starting to gain some love here. Satoma is up 19.9%, which means over the last 14 days, it is negative 5%. So it's brought that down. And over the last 30 days, it's still a whopping negative 46%. So at least Satoma is moving in the right direction. Let's hope it continues to do so. So people keep asking me, Pimpy, what happened to the ruble? Well, you can see it's increased in value. Remember, pre-invasion, they were 0.013. Then they were knocked down to, what was it, I don't remember. It was like less than half. And then all of a sudden they announced they're going to the gold standard and it shot up. Now they're forcing countries to pay in rubles. Now look at it. It's at 0.015. So you can see right here, yeah, let's see here, what is this? Towards the middle of February, then it dropped. Down here is 0.0072. That's what it was. It was about halfway. So you could have doubled your money had you invested into rubles back when it was 0.0072. So you can see here on average, if we look over the past year, it's been averaging 0.014. So it is up 0.015. It doesn't sound like a lot, but if you bought it back when it was, 0.0072, then you're celebrating. So silver is at $22.95 and regaining a lot of its value really quick here. So this roller coaster started on a downside on April the 18th. Then since this morning when it was around, let's see here, 22.18 or so, it has now gone all the way back up to almost $23. It'll get there. So again, silver at $22.95. Hopefully you guys bought on the dip. Gold at $1,884.20. You can see the same thing right here. It started to take a drop. A huge drop, and then shot back up. We look at the hour-by-hour chart, same thing from April 18th. It started its downhill spiral, got around the 28th, and gold started to rebound, and then it was smushed back down again. So gold's sitting at $1,884. So I was talking about a trend with gold. It seemed like a lot of countries were repatriating their gold back into the country. For those who don't know what that means, you see a lot of these countries have their gold holdings with other countries. Some countries keep their gold here with us, with our Federal Reserve, or they keep the gold over there in London at the LBMA, is where these people normally keep their gold if they're not keeping it in their country. And why would a country do that? Well, if it's not quite stable and they're worried about somebody stealing it, then they keep it with a more powerful country, is usually the reason why. But there has been a lot of countries repatriating, which means, again, they're taking it out of the country that's holding their money and bringing it back. A big part of that is a lot of countries saw what the United States does to other countries. They hold on to their gold, and if they have a disagreement with them, well, then they refuse to give it back. So people got hip to that, and they started going, France repatriated all its monetary gold. The Central Bank of France has convertedly repatriated 221 tons of gold between 2013 and 16. Since then, all its monetary gold is stored in Paris. Repatriating all gold is related to France's aim to revamp Paris as a gold trading center. This article was just last month, but even so, they're not the first country to do that. Not only are countries repatriating their gold, but they're also buying more. There's been a buying frenzy since the too big to fail market crash in 2007 and 8. The global economy was flashing danger signs long before the RONA. So don't believe governments when they go, it's because of the RONA or it's because of Putin. For one thing, many countries were clamoring to get a hold of as much gold as possible. For the past decade, they have been buying new reserves and bringing it home from overseas storages. That's repatriating. To an extent never seen in modern times. Then just before the pandemic, there was a pause. What does this all mean? So, central banks in 2019, all combined, added 650 tons to their reserves, which was the second highest shift in 50 years. After the 656 tons added the year before in 2018. Prior to that, before 2007 and 2009 financial crisis, central banks were net sellers of gold worldwide for decades. Leading the recent spree has been China, Russia, Turkey, Kazakhstan, and Uzbekistan. So you can see right here in the years, these are net sellers, central banks were. And then all of a sudden they started buying it again. So Venezuela started repatriating their gold back in 2011. They at least got 160 tons of it when, of course, So Venezuela started repatriating its gold back in 2011. They received 160 tons from New York, which is the Federal Reserve. A third of its holding remain in London, but only because the Bank of England won't repatriate them, declaring it doesn't recognize the government in Caracas. Venezuela has now made this the subject of legal claims. So you see what London is doing? They're keeping the gold that belongs to the country. Between 2012 and 2017, Germany repatriated most of its massive reserves from Paris, New York to Frankfurt. The Netherlands did as well in 2014, followed by Australia. Then came the Eastern Europe in 2018. Hungary announced it would repatriate. Poland did, Romania, Slovakia, Serbia. All these countries started taking their gold that was stored in other countries and brought it back home. So this person went on to say, what is happening? This dash to gold is about geopolitics and economics. Gold serves as a patchwork of nationalist identity. To quote Adam Popinski, governor of the National Bank of Poland, gold symbolizes the strength of a country. Stocking up has made sense to many countries in the populist climate. It's also a sign of countries diversifying from dollars. The likes of Russia, China, and even countries in Western Europe want to break the U.S. dominance of the financial system, having seen it used as leverage in everything from economic sanctions to trade threats. As you can see, most countries are getting tired of the United States bullying other countries. Fiat versus gold. In the era where everything is digital, fast, and smart, it might sound strange that a static piece of metal can still have a major monetary role. Central banks abandoned the gold standard in the 1970s, led by Nixon, which meant that paper currencies were no longer exchangeable for gold. This was necessary because there were too many dollars in the international system and too many countries exercising their right to exchange them for U.S. gold reserves. So when our money had value is when it was backed by gold. You can see right here it says, after Nixon's decision, currencies became fiat, meaning that countries could freely decide how much they have in circulation. Currencies now had value not because they were backed by gold, but because the state standing behind them said they had value. In other words, your dollar is only worth $1 because your government said so. That's it. So you can see right here, it says the new dash for gold makes economists pause and wonder what is happening. It seems to show that many countries looking for a safe haven in these years in which interest rates have been very low and central banks have been printing large amounts of money to stimulate the global economy. So gold continues to have intrinsic value. So research countries, especially if they fear inflation and downturns. So there has been a dash for gold now since around 2007, 2008. And that's because the central banks knew that sooner or later this quantitative easing was going to come back and bite them in the butt. And sooner or later it was going to have to stop. And they were going to have to deal with the real problems. One of the ways they could protect themselves was to purchase as much gold as possible. So do what they do, not what they say. So people were asking me, didn't Putin put us on the gold standard? Oh, he suggested this is what he was going to do, but then backtracked just a little. He still plans on going into the gold standard, by the way. He's been talking with China about what they need to do. It says Russian President Putin looks to peg the ruble to the gold. However, the governor of Russia's central bank told reporters the idea was not being discussed in any way. Not true. Not true at all. Russian President Putin is discussing the idea of pegging the ruble to gold and other goods, the Kremlin said on Friday, a move that, if approved, would directly link Russia's currency to bullion for the first time in more than a century. Oh yeah, we're waiting for it. A powerful Russian security officer said this week linking the ruble to the bullion could give Russia more sovereignty over the financial system, which has been battered by Western sanctions since Moscow sent troops into the Ukraine. So countries are getting tired of the U.S. and they're getting hip to the fact that if they back their money by gold, that gives them the financial freedom necessary without worrying about sanctions from the SWIFT system. But yeah, Russia produces around 10% of the gold mined globally each year and is a major producer of oil, gas, metals, and grains. And what some saw as an attempt to link the ruble with gold, Russia's central bank said in March it would buy gold at a fixed price of 5,000 rubles a gram until June 30th. 2 weeks later, after the ruble had strengthened sharply, it backtracked and said it would buy at negotiated prices. Many currencies have in the past been pegged to gold or silver. Russia adopted this standard back in 1897, but like many other countries, abandoned it during the First World War as governments printed money to finance the conflict. As it currently stands, the Russian ruble is at a 2-year high. So much for all the sanctions. So yeah, what had happened was Putin had made the announcement that he was pegging it to the oil, gold that is, and once the currency strengthened, he backtracked. But that doesn't mean he's going to stop altogether. We know that he has been talking to China about going into the gold standard. If both those countries, or even one of those countries, move into the gold standard, it's going to force other countries to follow. One of the reasons why the ruble continues to get stronger is because the European countries, as much as they want to whine about what it is that Russia is doing, and people really need to pay attention to that president over there, Zelensky. He's no angel. This guy's policies over there are absolutely in line with the Great Reset. There's no doubt about it. I mean, he eliminated political parties, or he grabbed more executive power as the president, eliminating a lot more of what the courts say. And he absolutely positively rigged his last election. There's so much overwhelming evidence of it. But the fact that he was letting UN come in with missiles is why Russia went over there in the first place. But look at this, 10 European countries quietly buying gas for rubles. And now you know why the ruble is getting stronger. Ever since Moscow announced this new oil gas payment mechanism for European energy clients, Western governments have been giving mixed messages in public as to whether or not they would be compliant with Moscow's controversial new rubles for gas procedure. So the reason why these European countries are doing it quietly, because it is a hot button topic. If all of a sudden word got out, and it is getting out, by the way, as you can obviously see, but it's been very quietly. The reason why that is because if word got out, people would be attacking these countries going, oh, what? You support Putin. You don't like Ukraine, the poor Ukraine people. Instead of doing the research to find out what it is that Russia's actually doing. I wouldn't say the sanctions are being successful against Russia. I know America was turning towards the OPEC for help and to help the European countries. But somewhere along the line, they have forgotten that a good portion of the board that makes up OPEC are allies with Russia. So I don't know what they thought was going to happen. But it's definitely driving oil prices up. So even with all the talks of sanctions and getting Russia kicked out of the SWIFT system, it doesn't really appear to be having much of an effect. Their currency continues to get stronger. Just to show you that so much for sanctions, countries are still buying the oil. So there it is. The Feds raised the rate by 0.5%. Russia's currency continues to get stronger. Cryptos, gold, and silver are on a rise. Let's hope this trend continues. Anyways, that's it for now, you guys. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I surely do appreciate it. And I'll catch you later. I'm out.